Welcome to my secret underground facility. A room that is so secure, not even a speck of dust could find its... Oh, for crying out loud, who keeps leaving the door open? Boris, was it you? So hard to find good help these days. Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. In today's episode, I think what I want to do is start working my way towards nuclear power. Now, I've already done a little bit. A while back, I happened to find a pitchblende mine, and the pitchblende mine had quite a lot of pitchblende in it, as I would say. That's actually a pitchblende ore vein, not a pitchblende mine, but I mined up the pitchblende, and there was also some uraninite ore. And so between the two of them, I got myself a lot of uranium, and that was uranium-238 dust. Now, from there, I can make these uranium-238 ingots. That's really simple. You just take these things and put them into a smeltery, like that, and it makes uranium-238 ingots. Now, of course, that's important because in order to have nuclear power, you need to have something called this. No, not that. This. Enriched uranium nuclear fuel. And as you can see, it requires, each one of these requires 6 uranium-238 ingots. So that's fine. But the problematic part is this here, this tiny pile of uranium-235 or uranium-235 nuggets. Those things are a little bit harder to get. Basically, I've already made some ingots, so I'm keeping those there. Basically, what you want to do is you want to take this dust and you want to put it into a centrifuge. And when you centrifuge that up, you have a possibility of getting uranium-235 dust or ingot or nuggets. It's not even a guarantee. That's the crazy part. So uranium-238 dust has a 20% chance of turning into a tiny pile of uranium-235 dust. There's also a 2% chance of getting a tiny pile of plutonium. So those odds aren't that great. But in addition to that, it requires 320 volts in order to process in a centrifuge. And that, of course, means a high voltage centrifuge or better. And then on top of that, each one of these is going to require 256,000 EU and is going to take 40 seconds to run. So this thing is just going to take a heck of a lot of time. And I think I just bumped my mic there, so I apologize about that. Let me move my mic just a little bit, make that a little bit better. There we go. So, first thing I need to do is to make myself the high voltage centrifuge, which is also called the turbo centrifuge. And I've got some stainless steel here. I have some copper wire there. Did I have anything else that I made? Maybe not. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go over here and I want to turn this copper wire into 4 times copper wire. Just like that. This can go in here, and this should have everything I need already to make 2 of these electric motors, but they don't. I need 4 gold cables. All right, so 2 electric motors. I'll take those. Thank you very much. And running over here, I should now be able to, let's put down a wrench, stainless steel plates. That will give me the high voltage machine casing. Put some gold cables on the other side of that, and that should give me the high voltage machine hull. So that's good. And I'm not sure that I remember the recipe. I know I need 4 advanced circuits. I think they go in the corners. I need 2 more of the gold cables, and then I need those 2 electric motors. And that gives me the turbo centrifuge, the high voltage centrifuge. Okay, now of course then I need high voltage power. And what I've been doing so far is I have power coming up from my power production down below, and just using a little battery to store. And this line here is a silver cable, which is carrying high voltage. I've got some the high voltage machinery here to make circuits with. And then I have a line of low voltage machinery, and then this bottom row is medium voltage machinery with various transformers and etc. that we need for all of that. So I should be able to plug this high voltage centrifuge anywhere along this line, and I think I'm gonna pop it here for now. And so there we go. So now I should be able to get my uranium-238 dust. There we are. And plop that in there. And then that will start processing with a 20% chance of getting a uranium-235 tiny pile of dust. How sad. The problem is that the thing that I want to make requires, let's see, I think it requires 12 of the enriched uranium, which means I need 12, 24, I need 36 of the, oops, go back to that, there we go, 36 tiny piles of uranium-235 or uranium-235 nuggets. The nuggets can be had directly from the tiny piles of dust, I believe. Let's see. Something like that. Maybe it's in the smelting. Here we go. See, a tiny pile of uranium-235 dust can be smelted right into a uranium-235 nugget. The tiny pile of uranium-235 can also be had from compressing a tiny pile of uranium-235 dust. So either way will get me what I need. But I'm going to need 36 of those. Oh, boy. And with only a 20% chance for each one of these that I process, that's going to be quite a bit. So it's going to take me some amount of time to turbocentrifuge my way to having enough to build the reactor that I want. And I have already built, where did I put it? Here we go. I've already built all the things I need as far as the reactor, the chamber, and all of the components that are going to go inside of my nuclear reactor. So literally all that I am waiting for is for this to process. And so we shall sit here and watch and wait. Well, I finally created enough uranium-235 dust to make this enriched uranium nuclear fuel. But I gotta tell you, that took a long time, a lot of power, and a lot of ground up uranium. I think I might have gone through 2 or 3 stacks, at least 2 stacks, maybe 2.5 stacks of uranium dust. And it just doesn't seem reasonable for doing it on a regular basis. I know that the nuclear fuel will last a long time in the reactor, but even so, I can't imagine going through all of this again. Now, on the other side of things, I have a lot of thorium. I've got 4.5 stacks of it as it is. Thorium seems to be fairly abundant, so I may convert my reactors to being thorium-based instead of uranium-based. I can't find a lot of good information on using thorium reactors just by themselves, but I might see what I can do. I know that thorium doesn't produce as much power as uranium, but I could just build multiple reactors and get more power that way. But anyway, now that I have this, I can make 12 of these enriched uranium nuclear fuel. And then we just use a canning machine with some empty fuel rods, and that will turn them into uranium fuel rods. Okay, now that I have my uranium fuel rods, I'm actually going to turn these into, if I can get around my mess, into double fuel rods. And that's pretty simple. You just connect them with an iron plate. Now I have 6 dual fuel rods of uranium. So let's head downstairs to where I'm going to where I have put the nuclear reactor. It's right in here. And I have 2 nuclear engineers that I have hired, and they will oversee safety protocols, making sure like I'm wearing my protective suit, you know, for safety and all that kind of good stuff. I wanted to make a carpenter's hatch with one of these fused quartz glass to be the see-through, but apparently I couldn't put fused quartz onto the carpenter hatch, so that's why it looks like this. Not completely the way I wanted it, but, you know, it's okay. Okay, I heard you. Okay. Anyway, so now we just take these fuel rods, and they go like that. Okay? And that is nuclear reactor. Okay, now is the moment of truth where I switch it on. There we go. And so we should be generating power, and this generates 180 EU per tick, and Mr. Chicken is so happy he laid an egg. That's right. So, yeah, 180 EU per tick. That is going into this CESU, which is filling up. And the reason the CESU is filling up is because, well, it's supposed to be going into here. So have I wired it up incorrectly? It's entirely possible. Let me check things out. Okay, so it doesn't seem that I have hooked anything up incorrectly. As you can see, the CESU is filling up. If I turn the reactor off, so it's no longer producing power, you can see that the CESU is draining. So power is definitely coming out of the CESU. The problem is, of course, that I am filling up the CESU faster than it can come out, because as saw before, the reactor is producing 180 EU per tick, but the CESU only outputs 128 EU per tick. So obviously I am producing more power than the CESU can output. So I need to put probably an MFE on here instead of the CESU. I kind of thought that I might have needed that. I used the CESU just because I had a bunch of them laying around. So I will work on making an MFE, and then we try it again. Okay, so should be able to make myself an MFE. I really dislike items that can't be stacked. I understand why they can't, but for some reason it always just kind of bugs me a little bit. Alright, 1 MFE. And it occurs to me that I might have had an MFE. Oh well, it's what's done is done. So let's take this MFE back downstairs. I keep hearing explosions. I don't know if that's just... Does lightning make an explosion sound when it hits the ground? I don't know. Okay. So, we'll go back in the bowels. What I have here. Alright, and I won't need a transformer anymore because the MFE outputs 512, which is the equivalent of high voltage. So that CESU is basically empty. Let's take it out. Can I pick it up? There we go. And take the MFE, put it there. And oh, crud. I can't take power directly out of the MFE. I do need some transformers. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, let me get some transformers. Okay, so I am going to use 2 transformers. So I'll take 1 transformer, put the large dot on that side, and so that will take 512 high voltage power and convert it to medium voltage power. And then I'm going to put another transformer here, and I need to invert this one like so, and so that will take medium voltage power, turn it back into high voltage power, I hope. And then we hook up the cabling like that. And so that should work. So let's go ahead and get back out of here and put my soft hammer away. And we'll try this again. Okay, flip it on. Generating power. Cool. And if I look, yeah, see now it's dumping out 512 EU every time it gets a chance. This only produces 180. So it's sending that power right up to my main battery buffer here. And I can see it filling up with power. So it's not going to be a huge amount of power, but it will at least be another 180 EU per tick for as long as these dual fuel rods last. And as I said, once those are dead, I'm going to switch to a thorium reactor. So, good job, guys. Well done. Yeah. I realize you guys don't have radioactive protective suits, but I'm sure you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But there's a suit there. Maybe you guys can share. My suggestion is that the pig should get the legs and the boots since he's got 4 legs and you only have 2, but you don't have any arms. You know what? You guys figure it out. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Nuclear reactor. Not much has changed with those. They're an industrial craft device that creates power, and they can generally create a pretty good amount of power. I'm not very familiar with the nuclear reactors. I had always avoided them in the past because, well, if they're not made right, they have a tendency to blow up, and I don't like things that blow up. But it also occurred to me that just about everything from GregTech can blow up in the right circumstances, so this is probably the least of my worries, all things considered. But it's another source of power. I have the uranium laying around. As I said, I'm going to switch to thorium. I have a ton of thorium, so I might as well use it and use it to generate some power. Why not? It's just another way to supplement my meager power sources. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them down below. Or if you have any suggestions of things that I might be doing wrong, let me know that as well. Take care, everybody. I will see you next time.